Happy just a little bit early, which is good. That was the plan. I like being here a little early. I like to be able to greet Kat. Don't want her waiting. We're going to talk about A Course in Miracles. I don't want to say exclusively because we never know where our conversations are going to take us. However, the exclusive topic is A Course in Miracles and all offshoots, submodalities. When you talk about forgiveness, hey, Bud Files, it might lead us to talk about meditation. It might lead us to talk about breath work. It might lead us to talk about hypnosis.
Knock, knock.
Are you pounding me on the head?
No, just knocking on the door.
Okay, just checking. Because we could start off, we could start off our with forgiveness. I could forgive you for pounding me on the head.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How are you, Kat?
I'm good.
You feeling
How
okay?
about you?
I'm good. You feeling better?
Pretty much, yeah.
Good. So I was saying that our topic is A Course in Miracles, but we never know where exactly that's going to take us. Even if we have a particular topic, we might stray, but it always falls under the modality of healing, of forgiveness, of love, and God, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you and I talking about the ego.
Right.
What do you think about the ego, Kat?
What do I think about it?
Yes.
I think the ego speaks first and does not mean its maker well.
Who's the maker? So wait a minute. I can hold you responsible for making my ego?
No, you're on your own.
Shoot.
That's what the ego wants you to think. You're on your own. You're separate.
I thought I found an out. I was all happy for a second. Yes, I get someone to blame. I get to blame Kat.
Hi, Stitch.
Hey, Stitch. And that's the funny thing, that the ego definitely seeks to blame.
Yeah.
Continuously. And if you can't find anyone else to blame, it's just as happy to blame ourselves.
Right.
Maybe even happier. Hey, do you ever use AI for any questions with A Course in Miracles?
Dang it. Are you reading my mind?
Uh-huh.
Get out of there, Yogi.
I like what I find in there. I have all these thoughts like, Yogi's such a nice guy.
Yes.
I really want to sit on the porch with Yogi and eat vanilla wafers and drink some Pepsi.
But yes, I mean, I rely on it pretty heavily.
It's a good source.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm relatively new. You want to do something with me?
Sure.
Let's ask your favorite AI source, Course in Miracles. What does the Course in Miracles say about the ego?
I could tell you.
Okay.
Okay. There are some key ideas from A Course in Miracles. One is that the ego is a belief in separation. Two is the ego is a false self through attack and defense. The ego is a substitute for the holy self. And the ego is not to be attacked, but seen through. That's what I got from AI.
I like that. I like all of that. I like that. Hey, Princess and Sniper, Lady Sky. I like that last part.
Right.
And that's the thing that triggered me. Stitch says Kat likes Coke. You want to go ahead and just go ahead and forgive now? She's giving you a perfect lesson.
She killed me. She got me right where it hurts.
I can tell. Kat has been wounded, deeply wounded. Fortunately, Kat practices forgiveness.
And you know what? She has a cape, so it's all good.
There you go. Here's one thing I know for certain. Never mess with a person with a cape, and specifically, never mess with a woman with a cape. Just see, don't ask me how I know that, but I know it. Hey, Jessica. Jessica says hi. That's the thing that triggered me to ask you if you wanted to talk about the ego. the very last one,
Right.
because we want to fight it.
We do.
And it makes us feel like spiritual warriors, which is obviously an oxymoron. Um, that I get to go to battle. It's me against the ego, and I will win, and I will be enlightened. I will be awakened. But who is it that's declaring war,
Right.
and who's going to win, and who's going to lose? Um, so, what do we do about it?
We identify it first.
Yeah. You gave me such a beautiful answer that one time. You and I talking privately about that, and I really, really appreciate that. By the way, if anyone has questions for Kat and I, we're talking specifically ego. We always get good questions about the ego. Um, it's a thorny subject, but it doesn't have to be exclusively. Any questions about Course in Miracles, about forgiveness, about meditation, breath work, about are you open to answering questions on quantum healing?
If I can, yes.
Okay. And anything else that you think Kat and I might? I guarantee you, if we don't know it, we'll make something up together.
Or ask AI.
Yeah, or ask AI. Exactly. Hey, Skits. Um, so, the ego speaks first and loudest. Not to be said for a sacred pause, and every pause is sacred. That even after the fact, we can always pause. Um, you've heard me talk about Brian Katie's the 4 questions.
Yes.
Is it true? Can you absolutely know for certain that it's true? And how do you act when you believe it's true? And who would you be if you didn't have that thought? If you didn't think it was true? Not only if you didn't think it was true, if that thought didn't exist. And to me, that little self inquiry seems to handle all of the problems um, of the ego. Is the ego true?
Squirrel has a question.
Let's see. If our sense of self is something we create, what do we learn about who we truly are? What do we learn about who we truly are? And when will we let go of that creation? You mind if I hop in?
Go ahead.
Um, well, it's not something that we consciously created. It's part of the dream. We didn't set out and say, I'm going to make an ego. The ego simply is part of the dream of separation. It is, we created the body and we created the ego as a way to hide ourselves from God, from the immense sense of guilt we felt when we believed that we separated from God, when we believed that we stepped outside of the garden uh, and we blamed each other. Well, specifically, we blamed Eve, um, and she blamed the snake. The snake, if it had shoulders, would have went, "It's a snake." Would have shrugged. That's not fair. Um, so there's really nothing to learn from the ego other than we're not the ego. What do you think?
I think you could learn from it by identifying it, saying, oh, that's the ego talking. That's not who I am. So I guess it could teach us a little bit about who we are. When the ego is speaking, we know that's not us.
Right. That's true. That's an excellent point. I think for me, it's always been a case sometimes, though, of misidentifying that the identifier was misidentified. That um, sometimes we have a tendency, sometimes I have the tendency or had the tendency to give a certain holiness to the ego. That the ego identifying the ego and look what an advanced ego I actually am. I'm a spiritual ego, and I'm an ego that knows stuff. I've created a hierarchy of illusions, as I talk about in the course. But um, it is helpful what you said, knowing that the ego speaks first and loudest. It makes it a little easier to identify, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Not always easy to step away from, but at least we can identify it, and that's a huge step.
it is.
Knowing what you're not. Almost every spiritual tradition has a path of negation. In yoga, it's called the neti neti meditation. Not this, not this. And I think some of the first 50 lessons in the workbook are um, negating exercises, that nothing means anything. Um, that, let me bring up, uh, nothing I see means anything. I've given everything I see meaning. I do not understand anything. These thoughts don't mean anything. All of that is a negation. We're throwing it away, throwing it away, throwing it away. And then what are you left with? You're left with the absolute silence of the mind. If these thoughts don't mean anything, um, you're given that holiness then. When that's the whole thing with that neti neti, not this, not this, dismissing everything we think we are. And we come to that sacred shrug of, I just don't know. I don't know what anything's for. But we can be shown. And I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit later with you as part of the experiment.
Uh-oh.
Well, I thought if you wanted to do what we've been doing, a forgiveness meditation,
Okay.
that I would enter that thought. This
Sounds great.
occurred to me this evening. Let's dive in the chat here.
Go, Stitchy.
Stitch says, yep, she has a question. Seneca says, how does our need to protect our sense of self sometimes help and sometimes hurt us in growing beyond our current limitations? Kat, you're on a roll.
Well, I want to know what you think about how does it protect your sense of self. I just don't see that part.
Our sense of self is the ego.
Right.
So any protection would be just sustaining the illusion, sustaining a falsity, and prolonging our suffering. I was reading today that only two things, the Buddha said he only teaches two things. He teaches suffering and the way out of suffering. And it seems to me, everything I've ever fell in love with about the Course in Miracles is the simplicity of the message. Stitch asking about Jack.
Yeah.
As soon as he pointed, I knew. And I suspected when Stitch said she had a question, it was going to be Jack related. Hey, Buddha. Buddha's in the background. So I don't think it can help.
It'll tell you it can.
Right, exactly. Any sense of protecting an illusion is just part of the illusion. And in the end, with the illusion being the source of all of our suffering, why would we want to protect it any longer? And again, I love that simplicity of Course in Miracles is get out of it. Let the illusion go. Wake up. And in the process of waking up, and maybe it's going to take an entire lifetime, you create a happier dream. And sometimes in the craziness of life, a little happier dream is pretty nice.
Yeah.
No,
I cannot knock him out. I'm sorry.
Sissy says, love to you, Kat and Jack, Yogi, and this beautiful community. Love to you, Sissy. Hey, Lucy. Um, Chris is here, Nature's Dog Realms.
Hi, Chris.
So, Chris, we are talking mostly ego, such as Yogi, you have superpowers. Let me know. What are they? Um, Speaking of simplicity, you often hear me refer to Kenneth Wapnick and and it replies to the last thing you had said reading the AI, simply seeing through. And that's what the whole message, Kenneth Wapnick, was you're going to choose the ego. You're going to believe that you're the ego. You're going to choose the wrong teacher. The key is one, don't punish yourself. Um, and two, just know that you chose the wrong teacher. Just know that you chose the ego is enough. And when you do it often enough, uh, you don't do it as frequently and you don't believe it as much. You don't go back to it as quickly as you used to. Do you want to know what my superpower is, by the way?
Yeah, I think I saw it. Go ahead.
Um, so, yeah, again, the simplicity of A Course in Miracles is what sold me. What about you? Hey, Muhammad.
I guess the results are what is selling me every day.
Right.
You know me, I take a while to get used to things and warm up to them.
Yeah, look how long it took you to actually hang out with me and like me forever. I grew on you, sort of like a mold, a little bit. It pays to be persistent. Sniper says, beyond just individuals, how does humanity's shared sense of self influence what we believe is real and how we evolve as a species? I'm not sure that we are evolving as a species. We're making new, shinier toys, um, better movies, maybe, arguably, flashier movies, um, faster cars. But have we really evolved?
Mm,
Sophisticated warfare doesn't mean that we're evolved.
right.
We have the ability to kill more people quicker. Um, we have more people starving probably than any other time in history, um, collectively. Hey, Joel. Um, so, really, there are no individuals. That's a hard thing to wake up to. There are no individuals. Um, there are no individuals in the illusion. Now, I know there's different school of thoughts on is the course a non-dual tradition or not, that within the mind of God, there's just the mind of God, and that we exist as thoughts within the mind of God. Um, and someone could liken that to individuality. I forget where I've read a beautiful thing of everything that's ever existed exists within heaven. And of course, heaven is a state of mind right here. And I thought about all the dogs and the cats that I loved through my life and all existing in heaven, a state of mind.
Mhm.
And I just absolutely love that thought. That,
Nice.
um, yeah, it is. It's just beautiful. So, anything you want to add to that? I don't think I answered it 100%. You want me to read it again?
Yeah.
Beyond just individuals, how does humanity's shared sense of self influence what we believe is real and how we evolve as a species?
That's mm.
Do you think you want to talk about projection? How we've individually and collectively projected the world um, that
You're
we
doing
see?
good.
What's that?
You're doing good. Go ahead.
So yeah, there's really no difference between an individual and a collective projection. That our projection is made up of our own individual thoughts that we share. There are no unshared thoughts. Every thought is shared. That so when we have a thought of separation, when we have a thought of fear, when we have a thought of guilt and resentment, when we are not forgiving, the collective, the seeming collective, is living in a world of fear and guilt and resentment. And we project a world, we create a world out of that projection. Of course, it's an illusion, doesn't exist. So the only real evolution, we don't exist as a species, really, outside of the illusion. So the only real evolution, the only way to evolve is to wake up from the dream. And we can only do that individually, each one of us practicing forgiveness. And yet, sort of paradoxically, when we do that individually, we awaken collectively, which is why the Course says, do not seek to change the world, seek to change how you see the world. Which I know you don't like politics, Kat.
Mm.
And you want to know my thoughts on that?
Sure.
Good for you. Good for you. Because, and I'm not telling people not to vote or not to do something, but has it ever made much of a difference in the long term? We got little improvements there, but then we go back a little bit over there. A little bit improvement here, we go back a little bit there. If you want to truly change things politically, if you want to change things for the better collectively for people, do what Kat's doing. Practice forgiveness, practice recognizing your part in the collective, and change how you see the world by changing the thoughts that you hold about the world. It's a good job, Kat.
Thanks.
I appreciate you making the world a little bit better for me.
Thank you. And thank you for doing the same.
I'm doing my best. Joel says, how many gods should we have for physical, psychological balance to stay healthy? As many as you need would be my answer.
What was the question?
How many gods should we have for physical, psychological balance to stay healthy?
Gods?
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I love about yoga, Hinduism, is you have a god for every occasion, but
Right.
it's all aspects of Brahma, it's aspects of one God. So if you need Jesus to hold your hand and walk you through life, take Jesus's hand and walk through life with the absolute love that Jesus offers. If you need the lessons of Krishna on the battlefield um, of life, which was the whole lesson of the Bhagavad Gita, well then embrace Krishna or Shiva. Or if you don't want a God at all, then have as a friend and a role model Buddha. But ultimately, in the end, you let them all go and you surrender to Brahma, you surrender to God, you surrender to love. And I know who your favorite is.
Yes. My big brother.
And such a loving example of love and forgiveness. It's nice that actually both you and I sort of reconciled with Jesus. For me, maybe my break was a little more than yours, maybe. But mine was pretty big, especially with yoga and Buddhism. I didn't realize, and then even practicing the Course, you were given that option. You don't need to believe. That's another thing I love about. You don't need to believe anything at all in the Course of Miracles. You just need to practice it. And as you practice, like you were saying, the everyday results that you get.
Yeah.
And you find yourself believing. For me, I found myself, before I believed, I found myself wanting to believe.
Mm.
And that led to a great, great awakening. Stitch says, Yogi, cat likes me so much, she has a Stitch plus in the background.
Yes, I do. She is correct.
Sorry, I'm looking behind you. I'm looking for the Yogi plush, but I don't see one. I just see I just see a Stitch one.
My Yogi birthday turtle is right next to me.
Oh, okay. That definitely makes me feel better. Sniper says maybe we are de-evolving. So, Sniper, what do you think? And let Kat and I play with those thoughts when you put them out there. I don't. I think we're just There's also a yogic Hindu concept of Lila, and Lila means God's play. That everything's just a play of God, which is interesting way of thinking it. I like Course in Miracles as well as some of the Gnostic beliefs. God doesn't even know this world exists, really,
Mm.
because it's our dream within the mind of God, and for God to recognize it would give it a reality
Mm.
that it doesn't have. So this is why we have Jesus and the Holy Spirit as mediators. That we don't need to reach out to God. We just need to take Jesus's hand, and He leads us home. He leads us to awaken, or we need to learn to listen, turn everything over to the Holy Spirit, which has been, most especially this past year, my main objective is to just continuously learn to listen to the Holy Spirit, letting go of everything, and letting go of my own best notion of how things are supposed to be. Hey, Mohammed. Hey, Trending. Hey,
Squirrel
Evan.
has a question. It just disappeared for me.
What practices or techniques can help in managing or transcending the ego? I hear you have good things to say about that primordial sound meditation I've been hearing about. So,
That is really good, as a matter of fact.
well, there's the only difference between primordial sound meditation and transcendental meditation, and the world transcendental, transcending. And what are you transcending? You're transcending the ego. Because you're in quietness, there is no ego. Without a voice, without sound, without insistence, there's no ego. There's just quiet, which is why Herman Melville said, silence is the only voice of God. Yeah, the only difference between transcendental meditation and primordial sound meditation is where the mantra is derived from. So, meditation, prayer, ways of uh, transcending the ego, but practicing yoga asanas, breath work. But again, I'm going to go back to the simplicity of A Course in Miracles. And you know what I'm going to say?
I haven't. No, I don't know what you're going to say.
Well, then can I ask what you would say?
Yes, I would say that once you are able to identify the ego thoughts, you ask the Holy Spirit for help reinterpreting them.
I like that. Reinterpreting. Which is also forgiveness.
Hmm?
Because we can't forgive, especially we can bargain, we can negotiate. I will pretend to forgive you and be happy as long as you're pleasing me. But if you go back to not pleasing me, then that original resentment is still there, which isn't really forgiveness. It's just negotiating. And we're good at negotiating. We're not good at true forgiveness. It's an impossibility.
Right.
So we turn it over to the Holy Spirit. It's so simple that it's actually amazing that we take so long to actually start doing it. Um, Evan says, I think it's the chaos theory.
Oh,
Hey, Jacob. Soham. I love the Soham meditation. That's the precursor to primordial sound meditation. It's using the natural mantra of the breath, and it actually becomes interchangeable. Um, in self-realization, the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, it's actually Hong Sao. When I learned to teach primordial sound meditation, we used hum so or so hum. So when you breathe in with the sound of internally so, and you exhale with the sound hum. And with each breath on its own, without forcing the breath, you just notice the breath going in and you say so. And as you exhale, you think hum, thinking so, thinking hum. You find yourself entering the very Paramahansa Yogananda call it the deathless state, that space between breaths where everything is still and silent. And it is an excellent way of transcending the ego. But it takes a long time. You can transcend the ego in a single meditation session, but then you open your eyes, you go out in life, and you're right back to it until you start meditating again. Going back to the simplicity of A Course in Miracles, forgiveness takes you there immediately because the ego does not want to forgive. So when you practice forgiveness, when you practice kindness, you're instantly, immediately, and in a very practical way, transcending the ego, seeing right through it. The ego sticks its head up and says, nope, not this. Not going to forgive this. And you say, okay, you don't need to. Holy Spirit, please help me see this differently. And then you go about your business. Lucy had a question. Lucy says, do you have to have ego to create boundaries?
well, I think that could be. No, go ahead, Yogi.
Yes. Because there's no, how do you have boundaries in the infinite? There are no boundaries. The only, trying to think if it was the Maharaji or Deepak Chopra, he said, the only reason, Kat, that I can feel your toes is the thought that you and I are separate. The thought of boundaries.
I just want to say that the ego for me over my lifetime was every time I was hurt, I'd build up a wall. And so I wasn't accepting of, and I've talked about this before, I was not accepting of any kind of love because my walls were so high. The ego had allowed me to build these walls that I couldn't access love. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't see it. I couldn't give it. So that's why you might want to look at what's behind the wall. I'm not sure. Or seeing through it.
I like all of that. But here's the thing. You've heard me talk about, I had to take in a big deep breath before I say this. Dostoevsky.
Good job.
Thank you. That, and he wrote in his The Underground Man about we live in the 4x4 equals 8 world, or the 2 + 2 = 4 world. Let's simplify that. 2 + 2 = 4. It makes sense that 2 + 2 always equals 4. It's logical. And we are born. We are kids for a brief period of time. We go to school. We get jobs. We get married. We have kids. We retire. One thing after another. 2 + 2 = 4. Nice, safe, little logical world. But the protagonist said, what if I want to live in a 2 + 2 = 5 world? What if I want to be an artist? What if I want to step outside of the box? What if I don't want boxes at all? And that's a happier dream, is when you step outside that 2 + 2 = 4, and you start thinking things might be a little bit different. 2 + 2 = 5 = 10. 2 + 2 = 20. 2 + 2 = 30. 2 + 2 = 40. 2 + 2 = 50. 2 + 2 = 60. 2 + 2 = 70. 2 + 2 = 80. 2 + 2 = 90. 2 + 2 = 100. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 200. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 = 250. 2 + 2 and maybe I want to see things a little different. But there's actually only, and this isn't from Dostoevsky, this is from Kenneth Wapnick and his talk on the course. The only formula, the only true mathematical formula that is real and makes any sense is that 1 plus 1 always and only equals 1. There's only 1. So what we do is we live in a 2 plus 2 world, but we don't believe it deep in our hearts. Deep in our hearts, we live the 2 plus 2 equals 5, which is the happier dream. But all the while, we know that there's only one. There's just God. There's not a dream. There's not a happier dream. There's just God. So to bring that around to answering Lucy's question is if you need boundaries to navigate in a 2 plus 2 equals 4 world, have boundaries. Be safe. Do what you need to do. But all the while in your heart, know that you are at one with everyone and that you are at home with God right now. So practicing the course doesn't mean allowing yourself to be mistreated. It doesn't mean that you don't keep yourself safe. It doesn't mean that you don't do the things of the world, that if you need a job, you get a job. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Good. Thank you. Because Lucy, I know that boundaries are a big thing with you, and I would never ever want to make you wrong. I would never want to make you do something or suggest that you do something that doesn't keep you safe. So have those boundaries, but in your heart, know there's no such thing as boundaries. God keeps you safe. I think about that with income. That where's it going to come from? And then I remind myself there's only one source, and everything comes from there. And there's infinite expressions of that one source, so it can come from anywhere. And I talked about Maharishi Mahesh Yogi when he was asked when he was going to buy that college, where's the money going to come from? And he laughed and said, from wherever it is now. Everything's already here. You want to add anything about any more about boundaries?
No.
I'd like your talk about it, and because I think everyone needs and wants to feel safe. And the more so we set those boundaries, but in our hearts, the more that we know that we are protected by God, the safer we actually begin to feel more and more. That right now, we're as safe as we're ever going to be because right now we are at home with God. That was a great question, Lucy. Thank you. Susie says, connecting your individual self with the universal consciousness, Christos, Sophia, Buddha consciousness. Which to me all comes with forgiveness. Forgiveness is my connection. That only you and I have to forgive, Kat. God doesn't have to forgive.
Right.
God doesn't even recognize sin. So my job, my only job, your only job, is to ask, can I see this a different way? Can I see this through the lens of the Holy Spirit? Thank you, Trending. Muhammad says, my question is that I have lost 15 years of my life due to wars and there is not enough life left. My question is, how do I make up for these years and where do I start? It's a heavy question.
Yeah. They go to the yogi.
Well, nothing's ever lost, but things can certainly seem to feel lost. So we start, I love Alice in Wonderland. We start at the beginning. and every moment is the beginning. And this one and only eternal moment that we have, the present moment, um, nothing needs to be done. And I love that. I love that line. Nothing needs to be done.
Sorry.
Thought you were pinching my head. You ever see kids in the hall?
Vaguely, yes.
And the guy would look out the window at people far away and go, "I'm crushing your head. I'm crushing your head."
No, I never saw that.
That's what I thought you were doing. I thought you were crushing
No.
my head. um, so instead of thinking about how do you make up for years that feel lost, what can you do right now in the present moment that packs the present moment with all the years that have ever existed and will ever exist? It all comes back to the present moment. If you feel that you've lost all of these years, if you feel that you've lost part of life, then you're going to miss the present moment where all of life takes place. And you've been gifted with this present moment, Muhammad. Um, let's open up to it. Let's keep opening up to that present moment.
Good job, Yogi.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Do you want to
No,
jump in on that too?
no.
No.
All we have is now.
Again, it seems so simple. Doesn't mean that, you know, that it that we don't bring our own complications in. You know what, Kat? I'm going to start practicing the power of now first thing tomorrow morning when I get up. I'm going to start my new day, and I'm going to be so much in the now. You won't even recognize me. You'll be like, you'll wake up and you'll be like live streaming, and you're like, "Where's Yogi?" I won't be there. I'll be in the now, waiting for you to catch up with me. That's how we avoid the now. But there's no place to be. We're here. And when it seems you're somewhere else, you're still here. Always. And you're not going anywhere. Ever. I find great joy knowing that Kat is not going anywhere.
Mm.
That every moment that every moment I get to spend with Kat, every moment I get to spend with my actual cats, every moment you get to spend with Jack is an eternal moment. Eternity.
I can't stop it.
That's okay. What's going on?
The long guy.
Oh. That's okay. It's
Yeah.
not a problem. Needs to be done. And I'm actually glad it's getting done because you were having some. Muhammad, I hope that helps somewhat. Hey, can you read Squirrel's comment up way up above underneath Muhammad's? Only because, and if you can't, that's okay. Only because I can never pronounce it, and he's been helping me pronounce it for over a year now.
Oh no.
Right now, he's shaking his head, like, is he ever gonna get it?
Yeah, I'm
And
looking on my TV. Can't see it.
oh. Soul 4 is the first missing number in the Fibis, Fibonacci sequence, and 13 is the magic 7 number in the Fibonacci. He's actually sent me a tutorial, and still I'll get it. He sent it to me, and I'll get it, and then it's gone the very next time I try to pronounce it. Sushi says the illusion still somehow supports the whole, like bookends, but don't be fooled by the red pill, blue pill manipulation. Do you want to give some specifics of that, Sissy? Chris says, Nature's All Realms, many times in my life I have walked away without anger, and it was the best thing I have done for myself and others.
That happens.
It does.
Yeah.
And That's part of having those healthy boundaries. But here's the key: what Chris said: walk away without anger.
Right.
Because if you're holding anger, you can walk as far away as you want, but you're not free. Um, and wouldn't you rather be free than resentful? Jessica says, thank you. Hey, Color My World. Oh, thank you for saying that. Jessica said, oh, crap, I forgot my meds, which reminds me, oh, crap, I got to take my stuff. Actually, if you think about it, you can remind me in 10 minutes. It's all about timing.
Where's Rosie with her alarm?
Yeah, I need Rosie. Jewel says, if we can forgive God, we can forgive all the nature and all mankind. What do you think about that?
I don't know what we're forgiving God for.
Yeah, he didn't get us in this mess. And as both Kat and I said just a little bit earlier, God doesn't recognize forgiveness because God doesn't recognize sin.
I love where A Course in Miracles will explain stuff. And I know I've talked about it before about how you are taught that God did, when Jesus was crying out, God didn't look upon him because he couldn't look upon sin. Just the knowledge that that's because God doesn't acknowledge this reality makes so much more sense.
Right. It does. Because how else do we explain um, day 6 in creation, in Genesis? God looked around and said everything was good.
Mm.
Everything. So why would God look at warfare? Why would he look at famine? Why would he look at starving children, um, homeless people, uh, political division, neighbor against neighbor, and say it was good? And why would God create a world that had that potential? And the Course says, good question. Here's the answer: he didn't. We did. We have, if Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within, means we don't have to go anywhere for heaven to exist. We just need to wake up to heaven right here and right now. So we just need to continuously keep choosing heaven, and that's forgiveness. I'm going to read one of my all-time favorite lessons. DC Cipher tutorial number 147.
Fibonacci.
And he's so patient about it. Oh yeah, you come in and you say it perfectly the first time.
I used his spelling chart.
I don't want to go so far as to say Cat's a show off, but Cat's a little bit of a show off. Hey Gilbert.
It's true.
Jessica says, I have no anger left, just sadness. As we practice forgiveness, even sadness begins to lighten. That's the big thing with me. With this is thank you for tips. You're welcome, my friend. People have asked through my practice of meditation, my practice of breath work and yoga, and specifically my practice of A Course in Miracles, has my own what used to be battle with depression disappeared? And the answer is no, still there, but it's lightened. I see it. I see it coming like a cloud, and um, I experiencing it as I experiencing it as I experience it. Um, it's like a noticing that almost isn't this interesting as it's happening, and I get to invoke a sense of, you know what? I'd rather love myself through it than suffer through it. And It's great to have a community and say, I'm going through some stuff, guys. And I've done that. And you guys have been wonderful. Uh, I appreciate it. So I'm going to read something really quick, or part of something, if you don't mind, Kat.
Sure.
I'm going to go to lesson 122. I'm going to preface it with lesson 121. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. Happiness is true happiness. Um, I don't want to say it's the absent or the complete absence of sadness or anger, but it is the allowingness for all of that to pass through with nothing left in its wake. That you might still get angry, but it passes by. So that was lesson 121. But 122 is one of the most beautiful things that I have the privilege to read. What could you want forgiveness cannot give? Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of purpose, and a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want care and safety and the warmth of shore protection always? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that can never be hurt, a deep, abiding comfort, and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? All this forgiveness offers you and more. It sparkles on your eyes as you awake and gives you joy with which to meet the day. It soothes your forehead while you sleep and rests upon your eyelids, so you see no dreams of fear and evil, malice, and attack. And when you wake again, it offers you another day of happiness and peace. All this forgiveness offers you and more. Forgiveness lets the veil be lifted that hides the face of Christ from those who look with unforgiving eyes upon the world. It lets you recognize the Son of God and clears your memory of all dead thoughts so that remembrance of your Father can arise across the threshold of the mind. What would you want forgiveness cannot give? What gifts but these are worthy to be sought? What fancy value, trivial effect, or transient promise, never to be kept, can hold more hope than what forgiveness brings? There's more, but I'll end it there because one thing that I wanted to add is what gift but these are worthy to be sought? What greater gift than true happiness? What greater gift than true peace of mind, peace of heart? And yet, even when you go down a spiritual path, we find ourselves still chasing after shiny things. And I did forever. Um, until finally I realized all I really, really wanted was what was outlined in this lesson 122. That basically my thought of enlightenment was a concept. But what the course is offering me is the practicality that forgiveness gives me the very moment I practice forgiveness. Not in a far off, if I meditate long enough, if I do a secret breath work that only I know, um, or a few ascended masters have bestowed upon the world, that if I practice Tibetan dream yoga, that I will come in contact uh, with the highest states of Buddhist consciousness that give me the secrets to come back. All of that might be true, but it's not what I want. I want what forgiveness can give me. I want peace. I want kindness. And I want to practice absolute love to the extent that I'm able right here and right now. And I can do that. I can do that through my practice of A Course in Miracles. And even that, I don't even have to practice the Course. I just need to practice forgiveness each and every moment. Forgiveness by saying, I wish to see things differently. What do you think, Kat?
I agree. Everything you just said.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Praveen.
Let's see. I wanted to read something from Sissy. And then right when I had my eyes on it, everything shifted. Jewel says, how can we deal with a state that refuses our principles? Should yoga be defensive, passive? It's a really good question. You know, Krishna to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita said, no, we do our duty, but we do it and we hand the fruit of our actions to God. And that's how we transcend karma. There's a couple ways of transcending karma. And one is we practice karma yoga, yoga of service. We serve other people because by transcending karma, we also transcend the ego, by the way. Ego is a karma making machine. Spirit itself, love, God, there's no cause, there's no effect. Without cause and effect, there's no. So we practice selfless service, helping other people. We practice bhakti yoga, which is the yoga of devotion. Everything is surrendered to God. We practice Raja Yoga, which is the path of meditation, because when we still our mind in meditation, primordial sound meditation, we are transcending karma, having a thought. In that one particular moment, when we slip into the gap, there's that little space of thoughtlessness. And when we're there, it's an impossibility to have karma because without a thought, there's no action. Emerson said that the ancestor of every action is a thought. But this isn't talked about in yoga. There's one more way to transcend karma, and that's to forgive. Karma disappears because forgiveness takes care of every single effect. And it comes down to one cause, and the cause is what Sissy had said. When the cause is always love, then any effect that comes after is going to be love. So, Jewel, in the world, take action if you feel the need to take action, but have a forgiving heart, and I think you'll be fine.
Thank you, Muhammad.
Hey, thank you for the floating jewels. Much appreciated. So Sissy has been, and I keep missing it, but she has been, there it is. Nothing is real except the love of source, and we are that because nothing is separate. We are everything and nothing simultaneously. So as I was sitting here talking, Sissy was preaching the sermon of love in the chat. Much appreciated. That brings us back to, by the way, the very beginning of A Course in Miracles. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Therein lies the peace of God. One of the things we've been talking about a lot lately is the holographic nature of the Course. You get one thing, you get everything. So if all you ever get from the Course is nothing real can be threatened, and if any time you feel threatened, you realize it's not coming from love, you've gotten the entirety of the Course right there. I'm going to take my supplement.
Good job.
Thank you. I was laughing and smiling as I was trying to swallow. It's like a bad combination. Did I miss anything in the chat? Kat?
I don't know.
Jules says, Jules, been some really awesome questions. How can we deal with the state? Oops, I read that. I keep referring back to the do not seek to change the world. Seek to change how we think about the world. Always internal. So, hey, William. Anna Marie, how are you? Anna Marie says, sorry for the silly question, but who is our lovely co-host? Cat and Jack? It is Cat and Jack. Unless you were asking that question to Cat and Jack, in which case I would be the lovely co-host. So thank you. Would Skits is back. Welcome back, Skits.
Hi, William.
Did he read Praveen's comment?
No.
Jack wants to say hi to me, but Auntie is blocking the views. Why, Auntie?
I did. I moved over for a few seconds.
Oh, okay. Why would you do that to our friend Praveen? And that's not a silly question at all, Anna Marie. Cat generally makes an online appearance once a week. And I'm very fortunate she does that here. Although you can catch the lovely Cat and Jack on so many of her shorts, which you probably tired of me hearing it, are creative works of art. Jewel says, is Yogi to keep animals in cage? I've had dogs that are crate trained, but I haven't always had dogs that are crate trained. Sort of up to the dogs.
Yeah.
Some dogs get a great sense of security in a crate.
Yep.
And some dogs feel better sitting on the bed. And I'm fine either way. Whatever the dogs wants to do. William says Cat and Jack also goes live at like 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time most mornings of the week.
Thank you, William.
Hey Kamari. Hey Cure family. Toy Pup says my dogs love their crates. Hey Toy Pups, I didn't see you come in. Muhammad says my cat says, oh, you probably read this already, right? My mom says cat is wonderful inside out, and this shows the purity of her heart, the beauty of her soul, and a pure nature. A big hug from my mom to you, Cat.
Thank you.
And
beat that ego down after this.
and actually, that actually does mean a lot because, as you and I know, and as everyone in the chat knows, Muhammad has a very beautiful mom. Just a loving soul. So it does not surprise me that she recognizes your beauty, Cat.
No.
How was that for a pickup line? Toy Pup says, hi, Cat. Hi, Yogi. Hi, Cat. Namaste.
Namaste, Toy Pups.
Anyone want to ask some questions? How about we do a forgiveness meditation, and then if anyone has questions, we'll dive in and answer some questions.
I'm just afraid I'm going to get another call.
Oh, okay. Do you want to wait then with the forgiveness?
I don't know. I don't know what to do. He's very persistent.
We can do it. We can always do it next week, or if you want, we could do a special. If you want to join me, 5 a.m. Just 4. Won't be long because my 5 a.m. isn't long anyway. And we do a forgiveness meditation.
No, it's back to work. That's too stressful for me to stop.
Okay.
It should not be stressful, but thinking about it up to that time does get stressful.
Sure. We can do it anytime then you want.
Okay.
And by the way, when we do it, if you want, you don't have to be on camera.
Oh, cool.
You can just, just be a conversation. So just to put that out there.
Okay.
But if we were to do a forgiveness meditation now, it would be better that you were uninterrupted. So we'll
Yeah.
wait. No hurry. Can I tell you what I was thinking about doing?
Yes.
Lesson 28 struck me. This I read it this morning for my members channel.
Mm-hmm.
Lesson 28 says, above all else, I want to see things differently. The course offers that lesson in many different forms. I want to see. Above all else, I want to see. I want to see things differently. Above all else, I want to see things differently. And they use a table for an example. And it talks about, you may wonder, why is it important to say, for example, above all else, I want to see this table differently. In itself, it isn't important at all. Yet, what is by itself, and what does in itself mean? You see a lot of separate things about you, which really means you are not seeing at all. You either see or not. When you see one thing differently, you will see all things differently. The light you will see in any one of them is the same light you will see in them all. So imagine, forgiveness is the light in which I see you, Kat. And imagine, if I see that within you, that means I can see it in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it. It's so easy to see it in you because, as Muhammad's mom so rightly pointed out, you're absolutely beautiful inside and out. But what if I take it on a little tougher? Someone who I feel has done me wrong. If I forgiveness is light in which I see Kat, then forgiveness is light in which I see that person as well.
Right.
And the other person, the person who did something even worse. And the worst person in the world. Forgiveness is a light. If you see it in one thing, if I see it in this table, I can see it in Kat. And I can see it in someone else and someone else. Forever, infinitely so. And with that one lesson, I am offered a lifetime of forgiveness. Right there. I can ask to see the light in anyone. So the little meditation, and you can try this on your own sometime if you want. Above all else, I want to see this table differently, this cup differently, this hand differently. And then just look for the light. I want to see this hand differently and look for the light. And in your mind's eye, see that light. Now go to that one person that's so difficult to forgive and look for that same light that is within my hand, within this cup, within this desk, and ask, above all else, please, Holy Spirit, Jesus, above all else, I want to see this person differently. I want to see that same light. And then the hardest of all, I want to see myself differently.
Hmm.
I want to see that light. Because if that light is within Kat, it's within me. Or it doesn't exist at all.
Nice.
So it is. I love how 30 plus years after first reading lesson 28 and just reading it as a description for the membership channel, I found myself smiling, and I even said, "Wow, I'm smiling because why did this hit me so hard
Yeah.
and so profoundly right now, as if I had never read it before or I hadn't read it probably 100 times before." You just never know.
That's one of my favorite too. It's often a cry for help.
And you mentioned that before earlier in our conversation. Um, can I see this differently? Asking the Holy Spirit, will you show me this differently? And that's why that theme is so important uh, all throughout the course. William says, I thought of two questions for Cat and Jack: pancakes or waffles, crunchy or smooth peanut butter.
Pancakes and smooth.
Good answer. Here's a question. Peanut butter on pancakes?
Oh yeah.
Peanut butter in pancakes?
Yeah. On it.
No, on it. Toy Pup says we all have beauty within. Forgive myself for not seeing my beauty. It's a big realization. Anna Marie says, beautiful, Mr. Yogi. Thank you, Anna Marie. Hey, Anna Marie, do you go by Anna or Anna Marie? Because sometimes I leave off with Maria, and I apologize for doing that. Sniper says, divine spark within, forgive and dissolve the veils of grievance, letting the light of understanding heal all that divides. Beautiful. As a matter of fact, that's so beautiful. I'm going to pin it. Let me know if you see anything that we might have missed that we should.
No.
Jewel had said, can Palestinians forgive the Israel that destroyed their nation? Yes. Is it going to happen? Probably not anytime soon. But the only way that we will ever have any peace is through the practice of forgiveness. Skid says, okay, I forgive you all for being massive weirdo. I forgive you most of all, Yokester, Broster, for creating a collective weirdness. Namaste. I'm happy to know that I'm forgiven for it, though. And I'm happy, you know what? We're definitely a weird tribe. And I'm pretty happy that we found each other. Checking for any questions. Hey, Danny Berry Sports Highlights is here. Michael's here. Hey, Michael. Stitch says, Duncan.
Hmm?
Sometimes it works. Hey, CC. From illusion to truth, huh? Sort of. CC says, make it happen. Eh? Muhammad says, Joel, yes, they can do that. They can. William says, Kat, what is your go-to lazy meal to make for yourself?
Little Debbie.
So your recipe for Little Debbie is unwrap.
Yes.
Step 1, unwrap. Step 2, put in my mouth. Two-step recipe. I like that, Kat. So that's an actual meal.
Mm.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever eaten Little Debbie with a knife and fork?
Why would you?
Thanksgiving? You want a formal Little Debbie meal? You sit down with the bib and you cut it up.
No judgment.
Thank you. Which Little Debbie snacks?
Any. Any.
Is there any? No.
I don't think so.
Would you be opposed to? I know how you feel about having Coca-Cola in the house. Are you opposed to Hostess?
They're just not as good, but no, anything sweet if Debbie's not available.
What's the other? Hostess, Little Debbie. It's the one that sponsored the Peanuts cartoon.
Beats me.
It'll come to me later. Anna Marie says, either is fine, Miss Yogi. Thank you for asking, though. It has actually taken me a very long time to be comfortable and appreciate my name. It's a beautiful name. I love Anna and all of its combinations. I like names that I can spell the same forward and backwards. I don't know why, but I do. My parents should have named me Bob. Um, Michael adds some steps. Step 3, chew. Step 4, wolf down.
Oh, you're supposed to chew.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think Kat mentioned chew.
No.
Consume. Skits is such a wonderful bunch of people here. Love you all to the moon and back. We love you too, Skits.
Yes.
Any guesses on what Stitch is cooking, Kat?
No, none.
I'm gonna say eggs.
Hmm.
I kind of thought that you might say eggs as your easy go-to meal to cook if you had to cook something.
Why would I have to? Who's gonna make me?
This is true. Why did I have this vision of um, going to dinner with you at a fancy vegan restaurant, and when the waitress says, "And what will the lady be having?" You'll be like pulling out your purse. I brought my own, thank you.
And eat it with my fork and knife.
And I would expect you in a fancy restaurant. You gotta with your fork and knife, and you gotta know which fork to use.
Oh yeah.
Muhammad said, "Peace can prevail between Israel and Palestine if there is a spirit of forgiveness, peace, cooperation, rejection of differences, and living in security and safety. Life is very short. Live." Well said, Muhammad. Very well said.
Hmm.
What actually cracks me up quite a bit is I know you're not joking about the little Debbie.
Right.
Um, I don't know why that makes me so happy. Uh, it, but it does. Um, William says, Yogi, you missed one microwave. My family does like 10 to 20 seconds for honey buns. So, have you ever microwaved a little Debbie?
No, but I did watch a woman do that for a Star Crunch.
And you didn't intervene in any way?
No,
No.
to each their own.
Um, have you ever frozen little Debbie?
No, why would I do that to her?
It seems like that might actually be kind of good though.
Mm,
No interest whatsoever.
no.
No. You know what? I don't feel so bad about being stuck in my own little weird. You've enlightened me. You've, if possible, Kat, I'd like you even more than I did before this live stream started. This conversation has filled my heart with joy. You are just as weird as I am.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was going to say maybe even weirder, and then I happen to catch a glance at my 257 shoes sitting next to me.
There you go.
Right.
You definitely have more shoes than me.
Do you have any uh collections? Do you collect anything?
I used to collect kerosene lamps or the old oil lamps.
Uh-huh. Those are beautiful, by the way.
Yeah,
I love
but
lanterns.
it started just taking up too much room, so I stopped.
Right. Um, I recommend putting all of that stuff in a separate room so you can start over again. Because you look around the room and you think it's so empty, and you don't have to think about the other room that's filled with stuff.
Right.
Um, Citrus cooking a quesadilla with broccoli on the side.
Oh,
Hey,
nice.
that sounds good.
Wow,
Start. Go ahead.
I'm impressed.
Uh, you don't microwave snack cakes, says Michael. Very definitive answer to that.
Mhm.
Graham says, Star Crunch is like Soma cookie. Oh, from Girl Scouts. Samoa. Samoa cookie. Samoa? The only Girl Scout cookie I've ever had is the Thin Mints.
Oh, the best.
They are pretty good.
Hmm.
And I could definitely eat a whole pack of those. Matter of fact, I always thought that one, they come in that little like wrap thing. I always
Hmm.
thought that meant it was one serving because it came in that, that little container. Kat, what is the most requested meal your kids asked for while they were growing up?
I married people who could cook, so you would have to ask them.
Um,
I just showed up to eat.
I was gonna think the most requested meal was, "Can we order a pizza?" Have you ever, uh, like, cooked?
Yeah, I had 4 brothers, and I cooked and cleaned and did laundry, and I went grocery shopping and totally burnt out.
I was gonna say, is that the reason why you
Yeah.
just makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the thing, um, one of the first foods that I remember giving up was, and that was a big thing in Baltimore, crabs, because Baltimore loves steamed crabs. But
Mhm.
I worked in a restaurant where we had to steam crabs, and then um, I won't get into the story about one of the main reasons why I quit. But afterwards, we took the leftover crabs and we peeled the crabs to make crab cakes. And they were covered in Old Bay, and your fingers get these little nicks, and the Old Bay gets in, and the fingers swell. Um, and I thought, you know what? When I quit that job, I'm never going to pick a crab
Mm.
ever again. Um, do you mind answering these? These are some little personal questions.
No, I don't mind.
Uh, all right. This is awesome. This is a cat and Jack question and answer.
I do cook eggs for my chickens. That's the extent of cooking around here.
How do the chickens like the eggs? How do you cook the eggs? Do you hard boil them or scramble?
Nope, I'd stick the eggs and the whole egg in a blender and mash it up and then bake it.
No.
Then I cut it up and give them pieces, a couple pieces every day.
Do you do supplements for your chickens,
That is
health
their
wise?
supplements. No.
Let's see. So, any questions for Kat? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Mm.
I think that might be it. I appreciate you answering those questions, Kat.
Sure.
It's nice. Um, I think it's nice people get to know you a little bit more.
Hmm.
And I know people definitely, and Stitch mentioned this, uh, people love being able to see you.
No.
I know it's not. I know it's not your favorite thing, but
No.
it's much appreciated. Me,
For
I
you.
I insert myself in every situation possible. Um, I just, do you have a camera? I'm gonna find my way in front of it. Who says, "Oh, we're talking about your eggs." She blends the eggs whole, shell and all, then bakes it
Yeah.
like a souffle.
Yeah.
Cece says, "Superman pose." Cypher says, "It wouldn't be the same without Cat and Jack on Thursday nights here."
Oh,
Um, how long have we been doing this now? 6, 7 years. Um, it feels, Cat, you've always been part of my life.
oh,
Um, but we've been doing it for at least over a month now, right?
right. I would say so.
And it really does feel natural and easy. I love all the stuff that we talk about. Um, thank you for being my Course in Miracles partner.
No, thank you.
Stitch says, "Is Jack locked in the cage?"
Yes, yes, yes.
Cypher says 6 weeks. We've been doing this for 6 weeks.
Oh, trust squirrel to know.
Yeah. William says, "Cat, are you trying to get a Little Debbie sponsorship?"
Why not?
I wonder if you could.
That's interesting.
And all you would ask for is unlimited supply of Little Debbie. You could
Right.
pay me a Little Debbie.
I would like Pepsi to kind of take a look and say, hey, we could use her in another way.
Right. Is there any way of, you make really clever Pepsi shorts?
Hmm.
I wonder if there's a way to get their attention.
I need do nothing. Maybe it'll happen.
I think it could. William says, here is a Course in Miracle question for you both, Yogi, Kat, and Jack. What do you feel, which lesson do you feel had the most profound impact on you?
There's so many to choose from, but since we've just been talking about, I don't remember what lesson, but above all else, I could see
What do
peace
you?
in this, or I'd like to see this differently. I don't remember.
For me, it was the lesson 122 that I read
Okay.
because it ended all of my search. That I was no longer chasing enlightenment. I was no longer looking for that uh, esoteric yoga pose that was going to spur the Kundalini energy and connect me with God. That everything I needed, everything that I wanted, was forgiveness offered, and forgiveness was possible right now. However, as important and profound as that was, I had a really big awakening moment reading lesson 28. Above all else, I want to see things differently. Tonight, earlier, right before this live stream. And if you happen to watch the video, you'll see me start smiling and saying basically, "Oh wow."
It might be time for me to go. I think somebody's pulling up.
Okay, Kat, thank you.
Thank you.
Our friend Kat. We'll wrap things up in just a minute. So, in the absence of Kat, does anyone have any questions for me about Kat? And I'll answer that. Muhammad says, I'm here, Joel. Sniper says, take care, Kat. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for those really, really nice questions to Kat. And a big thank you for Kat for answering them with such good humor. Skit says, Kat's mirror is not yours. Muhammad says, see you, Kat. Julie says, you fell in love with her? We know. It's funny you say that. I will neither confirm nor deny. However, here's what I will do. Joel, I will subscribe to you, my friend. I very much appreciate you coming in and the questions that you asked. Skit says, much love, Kat. Warm says, hey, Shirley. When are you going to see her? Whenever she asks me to come down. I would, I said I'd actually fly down and hang out in the airport and turn around and fly back in the same day or the next day. Doesn't matter to me. Skit says, much love to Kat. But one thing that's been agreed upon is we need do nothing. Each step will be revealed when it's time for it to be revealed. Nothing's going to be pushed. Nothing's going to be pursued. Things will unfold as they unfold. I've been practicing as much as I'm capable to surrender everything to the Holy Spirit. Guide me. I've made a mess. I've made a mess of so much in my life. So why would I keep insisting that I know what's best for me? Muhammad says, really, Yogi, you fall in love? It's a strange thing to talk about. Sid says, hey, Yogi, I have a question. Do you know if there is an exercise that I can do to get rid of back pain? Yes. There are several yoga postures. And if you remind me, are you going to be hanging out with Kat in the morning If you remind me, I will make a little video for you on some yoga postures to help you get rid of back pain. So, you know, I go through life practicing love, extending love to all people, all things, being kind to everything possible. I am not particularly good at it, but I practice it. Danny says, Yogi, Cat is a nice person. Cat is a nice person. You're absolutely right. Um, so I have absolutely no problem saying to Cat, Cat, I love you. I also say, Cat, I like you. And we'll proceed from there. Mohammed says, I wish to sharing in your view right now. I'm always happy that you're here, Mohammed. Mohammed, how long have we been friends? And how did you, I don't remember how you found the channel. Cece says, we all see what we see. However, the path turns. Love is awesome and don't require being together. Thank you, Cece. I appreciate you saying that. Cece says, I'm in love with MFS and everyone knows this. This is my dream guy. But I can tell you, um, I love having a Course in Miracles partner. I love having, Course in Miracles is all about relationships. This is where it differs from yoga and Buddhism. That my awakening, you could say my enlightenment, lies in other people. Kat says, I'm in love with little Debbie. Now she's just trying to make me jealous. So there's a difference between a holy relationship and a special relationship. Special relationship, and you can have special hate relationships, special love relationships. You can have a special relationship with objects. And what makes them special is they all have a condition. And as long as those conditions are met, we have a special love relationship, special like relationship. When they're not met, we can have a very special hate relationship. But a holy relationship is when you continuously choose forgiveness, no matter what. It's the basis for the entirety of the relationship. And that's how you awaken. That's how you awaken. Muhammad says, for 9 months, I'm here with your channel. I'm happy and so proud of you, Yogi. Thank you so much, Muhammad. It's been a good 9 months, my friend. Lacey's laughing with Kat. Danny says, Yogi, one thing Kat said is to forgive, but I forgive all my enemies and I love them. I don't have nothing against them. So if we take it even further, Danny, we realize we can have no enemies. Everyone, when we forgive what seems to be an enemy, we realize that they were actually a holy friend, giving us a great, great gift of being able to forgive them. They cease to be an enemy. Now they become our partner. They're helping us awaken. Muhammad celebrating with Kat. Praveen says, Yogi, sir, like every year YouTube updates its policy on July 2nd. Many, many, many creators around the globe got YouTube mail to submit appeals videos as why your channel shouldn't get demonetized. CC said it's called marriage. Well, a marriage can be a special relationship, and probably most marriages are. If you divorce me, you very well might become my special hate relationship. You're going to offer me a whole big plate of grievances. Ask anyone to talk about their ex-husband, ex-wife, and not everyone is going to have pleasant things to say. Although the very things that brought about that divorce are the things that we can forgive. And even if you get a divorce, your heart can still be filled with love. I managed to very much practice a holy relationship with someone for 23 years. And it has recently ended, but in no way did that holy relationship change. The form of the relationship has changed dramatically, drastically, um, unexpectedly when it happened, but the love is still present. It's just different now, and there's more space between us now. It's what happened, and it wasn't even a well. This really hurts, and I need to forgive. It was this really hurts. This really hurts. Forgiveness wasn't even an issue. It was already taken care of, and has been. Muhammad says, "I wish to stay in your channel for last day of my life, Yogi. I hope to be here for as long as I can, and I hope you continue long after me, Muhammad." He says, "My 11 friends got the same message yesterday. I was busy, full, and helping and guiding them how to make appeal videos." Religious relationship. But what happens if the religion changes? Hey, this is St. Thomas Day for you, Praveen. Genesis 2:18, 21, 24. The Lord said, "It is good for the man to be alone." What if we could reinterpret that a different way? As alone meaning there's no other individual, just one of us. Hey, Daniel, I do remember you, my friend. Daniel says, "How are you today? Good morning, New Zealand. Welcome to Yes. Good, my friend. Thank you so much, Daniel." Uh, Joel says, "There's no individual. No one can really be alone. Loneliness is an illusion." Yes. On point, Joel. Thank you for that. Kat says, "The ego wants you to believe you're alone." Agreed. Joel says, "Genesis is not much, Yogi." I think it all depends on how we interpret. I love using you guys hear me talk about it all the time. Day 6, God looking upon creation, declaring that it was good. Jesus or Lucy says, "I'm not alone. I have Jesus." Got a phone call. I don't know how that happened. I got a phone call. Everyone I know is right here. Muhammad says, "Loneliness is a deadly thing." It certainly can be. It certainly can be. Babid says, "Jesus is our savior." I'm glad I opened the door to Jesus. That was shut for a long time. I could say some of it had to do with my going to Catholic school, but I think a lot of it had to do with spiritual snobbery. Julie says, or Jewel says, "Can a mere atheist be a yogi?" Yes. You can practice yoga of self realization, without belief in anything other than life. It's funny. I wouldn't mind talking about atheism sometime. Is there really such a thing as a true atheist? Everything can be traced back to the belief in life, right? We know that we exist. Chris says, "Have a great evening, everyone." Thank you, Chris. Yeah, we're going to wrap things up too. I'll say it a little bit later. Just enjoying the conversation with you guys. I was enjoying sitting here answering questions about Cat, not realizing that Cat was still here. Oops. Cat says, "I believe in Jesus, but I'm also a witch." Kat says, Yogi, what's the difference between self-realization and enlightenment? Um, it's a good question. Self-realization is realizing the nature of the self. And I would say the realization of the self is comes to the absence of self. I know a lot of people who actually self-realize. I have a lot of people who've had awakening experiences. I don't know a lot of enlightened people. And I think the difference is when you realize the nature of the self, which is the selfless state, love, absolute pure love, comes rushing in. When you realize the void, and in the absence of the self, there's a void. We can call it emptiness, as they do in Zen, in the Heart Sutra. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. But when we discover the void, when we discover our headlessness, as soon as you see the void, you realize its capacity. And capacity, its very nature, is to hold. And the only thing it can possibly hold is love. So, self-realization is realizing the nature of the self and the absence of the true self. And enlightenment is realizing in the absence of the true self, there's only absolute love. Cece says, figured Cat was a witch. I wouldn't say Cat's a witch, but Cat has witch-like qualities. She's a little witchy. Jewel says, respect for Muhammad. Me too. I'm going to join you with that. Big respect for Muhammad and absolute love for Muhammad. Man, Praveen, thank you for that. Self-realization is knowing your true self beyond ego. Enlightenment is complete liberation from illusion, ego, and suffering. Realization is insight. Enlightenment is total freedom. Beautifully said. Kat says, thank you, Praveen. Muhammad says, we all together, we are one big family, we take care of each other. Absolutely. Praveen says, welcome, welcome, Auntie. DC says, I have a black cat, a witch's best friend, and I am a witch. Yep, I got two black cats. One sitting right next to me. Muhammad says, much love and respect to you too, Jewel. Jewel, really, thank you for coming in. Cece says, same, only wizard. I prefer Oracle. I purposely picked the title, well, accidentally purposely, of this channel, just a yogi. I could probably do away with the burpee part, but Simply says maybe we can touch on the topic of the void at some point of the day, week, month. Yes, anytime. We could do a how to experience yourself as a void anytime. I love doing the headless experiment. Joe says, what is the best diet for a yogi? Can she eat pork? Traditionally, no. Traditionally, the yogic diet is vegetarian. You can have specific dairy. I'll be honest, I'm not even sure about eggs. I think the key, though, yoga, meaning union, can be practiced no matter what you eat. So the key, as Praveen was saying, liberation. Can you be liberated from your own dietary restrictions? One of the practices, the foundation of yoga, ahimsa, non-harmfulness, minimizing harm as you go through life. So for me, I could not eat it. I wanted to reduce my harmful imprint. I'd love it. Someday we'll talk about the yogic diet. Cece says, but I'm no guru. Cat says, I'm just a girl in her room with her girlfriend and her big red dog. And that's all we want you to be, Cat. All right. Guys, thanks for the big 40 thumbs up. Very much appreciated. Not sure how many people we had here at one time. According to that little list, we had 40 people show up. 48 people show up. That's a lot of people. "48 people showed up and listened to Kat say that she only eats Little Debbie." Uh, Joel Prada says, "Can a yogi touch dead bodies as it happens in funerals?" Yes, a yogi can. Now, there might be some uh, like religious sects that forbid that. I know uh, of a few, but a yogi who is seeking liberation is liberated from all rules and restrictions. There are some tantric practices where you actually will meditate in a morgue or a cemetery. Cece says, "My mother's a cook witch." My mother's a cook witch, says Cece. Kat says, "Look at you at 8.09K subs." Yeah, it's getting there, little at a time. Let me bring Kat's. I actually already have her channel up. Kat is at 928, guys. I'm saying within a week, she's going to be hitting 1K. So we'll wrap things up in just a minute. Kat says, "No CC, I've learned my lesson. I don't clean up anyone else's mess." CC says, "Kat, my suspicion is cleaner witch fixing the other mess is the gift." Muhammad says, "At the height of my brokenness and loneliness, God sent you, my brother Yogi, and all the friends on your channel. I thank God for this gift. May God always protect you for me." Thank you so much. Muhammad, you've become such a beautiful fixture in all of our channels. I see everyone welcoming you. Everyone loves when you come and visit. You and your mom. Cece says, "Yeah, you're helping me with mine." Praveen says, "Yogi, sir, and Auntie, I'm always there. Yes, always to help you on YouTube with my expertise." Thank you, Praveen. I do got to admit, I am thinking I wouldn't mind getting to 10K, but I'll get there when I get there. I've made no secret that I am attempting to earn my sole source of income is from YouTube. Um, so it is either show up and say the right words, and hopefully it helps people. Let's see. Jules said, "How do you feel answering to people with no face or voice?" I never thought about it. I don't have a problem with it. Cece says, "Hell, you help Cat." Cat is a huge help. Praveen says, "10K soon, Yogi, sir." Thank you, Praveen. I I couldn't even convey to Cat how much she has helped me. Cat says, "Faces and voices don't matter." Muhammad says, "Beautifully said, Muhammad." Both Cat and Muhammad. Jewel, without face or voice, just feel by soul. Sepit says, with your vibration of your intent. Another, guys, Awesome. David says, yes, 100%, Auntie. Muhammad says, yeah, you're right, Kat. All of you guys were right. I got to say, I enjoyed everything about tonight, from Kat's first appearance to our little conversation now. But I got to get to bed. It's actually late for me. I could actually probably sit here and do this for a while, but it's definitely late for me. Joe says, life is staying in touch by one in front of another, but I get your point. Hey, Joel, I hope you come by and visit again. Fareed says, awesome live. Thank you, Fareed. Thank you for your help making it so awesome. Muhammad says, thank you so much for you, Yogi. Thank you for you, Muhammad. Danny says, good night, Yogi and chat. Good night, Danny. Danny, thanks for hanging out. He says, remember, love beats. Remember, heart beats, unless broken beats heart. I'll have to think of that one. Cat says, sweet dreams, Yogi. Sweet dreams, Cat. Everything is a wave. Funny. I just read a quote about that. I'll post it tomorrow. Greg Bear, he's a fiction writer. I actually posted it like 10 years ago on my Facebook page, and it came up as a reminder this morning. Speaking of which, if anyone's on Facebook and they want to hang out, look me up. Joe says, can yogis have tattoos even though they are not natural? I hope so. I hope so. Cat says, love breaks down walls. It does. Seppa says, I wasn't waving, I was drowning. All right, guys. I'm going to see y'all later. I love you. Thank you.